Have you ever been in a room full of people and noticed how just one man walks in, says nothing, and yet everyone senses his presence? He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't need to prove a thing. But somehow you never forget him. What makes a man unforgettable? It's not his wealth. It's not how loud he is. It's not his car, his title, or his clothes. The truth, a truth buried deep in ancient philosophy, is that what makes a man unforgettable is his inner stillness, his discipline, and his control over himself. It's the Stoic secret. It's what made Marcus Aurelius, an emperor, be remembered more for his words than for his wars. It's what made men like Epictetus, born a slave, echo through time louder than kings. And it's what can make you, yes, you, walk into any room, into any life, into any season of hardship or success, and be a man who cannot be ignored. You see, the Stoics knew something our modern world has almost forgotten. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, they trained their minds to be still, their hearts to be calm, their egos to be silent. They weren't chasing attention, they weren't moved by praise or broken by criticism, they lived by internal code. And because of that, they stood out without trying. In this video, we're going to unpack this ancient power. We're going to break it down into 4 deep chapters filled with timeless wisdom, biblical truth, and practical, man-sharpening advice that will reshape the way you live, lead, and love. You'll learn how Stoic men created unforgettable legacies without ever chasing fame, how inner stillness makes you stronger than outer noise, how you can walk in emotional control, mental strength, and divine purpose, and how this one principle can transform you into a man who leaves a mark, even in silence. This isn't just a motivational message, this is a manual for greatness. And if you're ready to stop being forgettable, if you're tired of being reactive, overlooked, unfulfilled, if you're ready to walk like a king even in chains, then lean in. The Stoics didn't have YouTube, but they had fire in their bones. And by the end of this video, I believe you will too. So before we dive into chapter 1, do me a favor, like this video, share it with a brother who needs it, subscribe if you want more content that builds real men, and in the comments tell me, what kind of man do you want to become? This is not just a video, this is a call to rise. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The power of stillness in a world that never shuts up. Have you ever been told to speak up just to be seen? To stand out just to feel like you belong? In today's noisy world, a world addicted to speed, attention, opinions, and applause, stillness seems like weakness. But to the Stoics, and to the wise men of the Bible, stillness was a weapon. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. You see, true power isn't always loud. It's not found in boasting. It's not in showing off your strength. Real power is controlled. It's quiet. It doesn't need validation. That's what makes it unforgettable. Let me tell you about Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. He was one of the most powerful men in history, ruling over an empire that stretched across continents. But in the silence of his own tent between battles and betrayals, he wrote down words for himself, not to impress others, but to stay grounded, one of those words. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Stillness gave him vision. Stillness gave him strategy. Stillness gave him the power to rule without being ruled by his own ego. Let that sink in for a moment. How many of us are ruled by our emotions? How many of us respond instantly to disrespect, to disappointment, to frustration without pausing, without breathing, without strategy? But the men who are unforgettable, they master the pause. They respond instead of react. They're not impulsive. They're not slaves to noise. They carry a different energy. Think about it. Who are the men you remember? Are they the ones who talk over everyone, or the ones who speak with calm clarity, make you feel peace in their presence? They walk into a room, and somehow everything slows down. That's Stoic stillness. And it's not natural, it's trained. Stillness is not laziness, and it's discipline. You have to build stillness the way a warrior builds muscle. Start small. Wake up and sit in silence for 5 minutes before grabbing your phone. Before answering a text, pause and ask, does this deserve my energy? When anger flares up, breathe and respond like a king, not a slave. You see, the world wants you reactive. Why? Because reactive men are easy to control, but still men, controlled men, stoic men, they're a threat. In Proverbs 16:32, it says, "He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city." Let that verse burn in your bones. Better than a conqueror is a man who controls himself. The still man is dangerous, in the best way. A man who is loud when things are easy is common, but a man who is calm in chaos, that's rare. That's unforgettable. Think of Jesus in the storm. The boat is shaking, waves crashing, his disciples panicking, and Jesus, he's sleeping. Then when they wake him up, he doesn't panic, he doesn't yell, he commands the storm, "Peace, be still." And the sea listens. That's power. That's presence. That's what we're called to. You don't have to be Jesus to walk in his power. You just have to stay connected to the stillness he offers. "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. The Stoics found their stillness through reason. You can find yours through the Spirit. Either way, stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right thing in the right state with the right mindset. If you want to be unforgettable, practice the habits that make unforgettable men. 1. Practice morning silence. Before the chaos of your day, sit in stillness for 5 to 10 minutes. Let your soul breathe. 2. Control your reactions. Someone disrespects you, don't flinch, don't bark, breathe. Speak like a man with authority. 3. Start journaling, like Marcus Aurelius. Write what you're learning, what you're feeling. Train your inner world to be stronger than the outer world. 4. Memorize one verse a week. Let God's word anchor your spirit like a stoic anchor in a storm. You were not created to be forgettable, but you will become forgettable if you act like every other man, reactive, noisy, and distracted. Stillness is your separator. Stillness is your power. Stillness is your stoic secret. So the question is, can you be still when the world is loud? Drop your answer in the comments. What helps you stay calm in the chaos? Chapter 2. Stoic Self-Mastery, the art of leading yourself. First, have you ever felt like you're leading everyone, but can't seem to lead yourself? You wake up tired, you say yes when you mean no, you promise to stay focused, yet waste hours scrolling. You want control over your life, your mind, your emotions, but it slips through your fingers. The Stoics understood something that many men today have forgotten. Before you lead others, you must master yourself. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. Let that sink in. You can have followers, fans, and even a family. But if your cravings lead you, if your anger controls you, if your emotions drive your decisions, you are not free. You're a prisoner, dressed like a king. Discipline, the foundation of true manhood. In today's world, we confuse freedom with indulgence. We think doing whatever we want, whenever we want, is living. But the Stoics knew that's not freedom, that's slavery. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded by someone else. Seneca. The man who doesn't discipline his appetites will always be ruled by them. That's why self-mastery isn't a luxury, it's not optional. It's what separates average men from great men. And great men are unforgettable. Ask yourself, do you control your schedule, or does your phone control you? Do you control your tongue, or do you speak out of impulse? Do you control your appetite, or does your hunger run the show? Jesus said it plainly, whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted with much. Luke 16:10. And guess what? Your habits are your little. Your discipline is the first test. If you can't lead yourself, God won't trust you to lead others. Marcus Aurelius, even while running a vast empire, kept a disciplined routine. He wrote in his journal every morning. He reminded himself not to be swayed by pleasure or praise. He kept his mind on duty and not drama. That's power. That's self-mastery. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't loud. It was consistent. And that's what most men today need: consistency over hype. You don't need more motivation. You need structure. You don't need more energy drinks. You need clarity. You don't need more success hacks. You need self-leadership. Start here. Wake up with intention. Cut what wastes your time. Prioritize soul work before social media. Do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. That's where real confidence is born, not from results, but from integrity. The Bible doesn't call you to control others. It calls you to control yourself. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Proverbs 25:28. Picture that. A man without self-control is like a city with no defenses. Anyone, any temptation, any distraction, any offense can walk in and conquer you. But a man who builds walls of discipline, he becomes untouchable, not because he's perfect, but because he's prepared. This is why Paul says, "I discipline my body and make it my slave." 1 Corinthians 9:27. Think of that. Even the Apostle Paul, used by God to write half the New Testament, didn't leave his soul to chance. He trained it. He led himself first. And so must you. Let's get practical. If you want to lead yourself like a Stoic and a man of God, 1. Create a daily, non-negotiable list. 3 small things you do every day, no matter what. Examples: 10-minute walk, 10-minute journaling, 10-minute prayer. 2. Practice saying no. Start with little things. Deny your cravings once a day to build internal muscle. 3. Limit distractions. Delete 1 app. Set screen time limits. Trade 30 minutes of scrolling for 30 minutes of sharpening. 4. Honor your word to yourself. If you say you'll wake up at 6 a.m., do it. The fastest way to destroy your confidence is to lie to yourself. Remember, every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your soul not to trust you. But every time you keep one, even small, you build credibility with your own spirit. The world teaches men to look outward, chase status, power, and followers. But the Stoic secret and the biblical truth is that your outer life is only as strong as your inner leadership. Forget image, build character. Forget hype, build habits. You don't need to be ruled by lust, anger, laziness, or insecurity. You can rule them. You were created to lead, but it starts within. So I ask you this. In the comments, answer this question. What's one area of your life you know you need to lead better? Chapter 3. The Unbothered Man. Emotional control in a reactive world. Have you ever lost control of your emotions and regretted it the moment it happened? You said something you didn't mean. You sent the text you shouldn't have. You made a decision in anger, in fear, or in ego, and it cost you peace, respect, or even a relationship. Now stop and imagine this. A man stands in the middle of a storm. Rain slams his shoulders. Wind rips through his coat. Thunder shakes the sky. But he stands there, calm, unmoved, his face like stone, his eyes focused. That man, he's unforgettable. Why? Because emotional control is one of the rarest forms of power in our reactive, triggered, oversensitive age. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. This is the Stoic mindset: pain, offense, betrayal, insult. They are all neutral until you assign them emotional weight. The Stoic doesn't ignore emotion, he doesn't become robotic, but he rules his emotions like a general commands an army. He uses them, he doesn't serve them. Emotions are fuel, not the driver. Emotions are not evil. Even Jesus felt them. He wept, he flipped tables, he bled, he groaned in the garden. But what made him different? He never let emotion master him. You can feel emotion without reacting out of emotion. That's where power lives. Be angry and do not sin. Ephesians 4:26. Anger is not the enemy. Lust is not the enemy. Grief, fear, pain, none of them are the enemy. Your reaction is. In Stoicism, this is called the discipline of assent, the ability to pause before you say yes to an emotion. When a man masters this pause, he becomes a king over his inner world. Imagine that version of you. Your boss disrespects you and you don't flinch. You respond with logic, not ego. Your ex tries to get a reaction, and you smile calmly, unfazed. Life throws chaos at your door, and you move with strategy, not panic. That's not weakness. That's elite-level manhood. There are 5 emotional traps that enslave men today. 1. Offense, taking everything personally. 2. Validation addiction, needing praise or attention to feel worthy. 3. Outrage, constant anger about things you cannot control. 4. Emotional impulsivity, reacting before thinking. 5. Emotional numbness, shutting down and pretending you don't feel anything at all. The Stoics had antidotes to all of these. Their solution: reason, reflection, restraint. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Seneca. Craving emotional highs, applause, validation. These are chains, but the man who leads his emotions instead of chasing them, he becomes unshakable, unbothered, unforgettable. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. If you belong to God, you have access to something greater than willpower. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. That means you were not created to panic. You were not created to rage uncontrollably. You were not created to cry in secret, then act tough in public. You were created to walk in power, not pretend. And that power comes from clarity, from wisdom, from a spirit-led inner life. You don't have to suppress emotions, you just need to submit them to something greater. Here's how you train emotional control like a Stoic warrior. 1. Breathe before you react. Practice a 5-second pause before replying in conflict. Slow your words, it slows your wrath. 2. Track emotional triggers. Journal what sets you off. Name the emotions you feel daily. Awareness is step 1 to mastery. 3. Talk less when emotional. In a heated moment, don't vent, retreat. You're not weak for staying silent, you're wise. 4. Build emotional vocabulary. Don't just say I'm mad, get precise. Frustrated, embarrassed, disrespected, insecure. Naming emotion drains its power. 5. Pray in the pause. Make emotional reactions a trigger to speak to God. Replace "I'm losing it" with "Lord, steady me." Today's world celebrates emotional outbursts. Social media rewards rage, victimhood, and drama. But God and the Stoics reward restraint. When you walk in emotional control, you become a fortress, not a feather. You become trusted, not tolerated. You become memorable because you're immovable. The unforgettable man is the calmest in the room. So now I ask you, drop a comment. What emotion do you need to gain mastery over this year? Chapter 4. Legacy in Silence. Why Quiet Men Leave the Loudest Mark. Have you ever wondered why the loudest men are quickly forgotten, but the quiet ones live forever? The men who posted everything, talked constantly, and demanded applause. They fade. But the man who lived with principle, who didn't chase clout, who stood firm when no one was watching, that's the man history remembers. The Stoics understood this, and they lived it. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. They knew legacy wasn't built through noise. It was built in private moments of integrity. In the choices no one saw, in the sacrifices no one celebrated, in the discipline no one clapped for, and centuries later, we still speak their names. The modern legacy trap. Today, men are told to build their legacy. But what they're really building is a highlight reel. They post every good deed. They craft their image. They work harder to look impactful than to be impactful. But here's the truth. Legacy is not built by the man who needs to be seen. It's built by the man who is the same, seen or unseen. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16. You see, Jesus didn't say talk about your light, he said live it. You don't need to shout your legacy. Live it in such a way that others can't ignore it, even after you're gone. That's the Stoic secret. That's God's call. Great men are built in hidden places. Let's talk about a man from the Bible, Joseph. He didn't start with power. He was sold by his brothers, betrayed, falsely accused, and thrown in prison. But what did Joseph do in the hidden seasons? He stayed faithful. He served with excellence. He held his integrity. He didn't scream, "Look at me." He walked in quiet power. And in time, God elevated him to second in command over Egypt, not because he was loud, but because he was consistent. Legacy is built when no one is watching. By their fruit you will recognize them. Matthew 7:20. Fruit doesn't grow instantly. It takes seasons of silence, storms, waiting, roots no one sees. And the men who endure that process, they don't just succeed, they leave a legacy, the Stoic legacy formula. The Stoics didn't chase fame, they chased virtue, and legacy followed. Here's the formula they lived by. 1. Know your principles. Know what you stand for before the world tries to define it for you. Write them down, memorize them, live by them. 2. Detach from outcomes. You don't control how people remember you, you control how you live. Focus on process, not praise. 3. Serve in silence. Serve your family, your mission, your God, even when no one says thank you. That's how you build weight in your name. 4. Lead with love. Legacy is not built on ego, it's built on love, on sacrificial choices, on doing what's right, even when it hurts. 5. Leave behind people, not posts. Your real legacy isn't in videos or quotes. It's in the people you impact, your wife, your sons, your brothers, your community, the legacy litmus test. Ask yourself, if I stop talking about what I'm doing, would anyone still be impacted by my life? If I died today, what would the people closest to me say I stood for? Am I living loud or living true? Build a legacy that doesn't need hype. Try these habits this week. 1. Write your own eulogy. It sounds morbid, but it's freeing. How do you want to be remembered? Start living it. 2. Serve someone secretly. Do something powerful that no one knows about. Build silent credibility. 3. Create a legacy project. Start writing letters to your future son. Mentor one young man. Pour into something that will outlive you. 4. Make your name heavy, not loud, heavy. Let your word carry weight. Let your presence bring peace. Let your silence hold power. You don't need the world to clap. You don't need the internet to follow you. You don't need your name in headlines. You just need to live so deeply, so faithfully, so unshakably, that generations from now, they still feel your impact. Legacy isn't about fame, it's about faithfulness. It's about finishing well. It's about being so grounded in your values that the world can't ignore what God did through you. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Proverbs 13:22. Not just money, wisdom, discipline, integrity, courage, stillness. That's legacy. That's Stoic. That's eternal. Drop a comment. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? If this series challenged you, inspired you, grounded you, like this video, share it with a man who's building something real. Subscribe for more truth, discipline, and fire for men. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We respond, we sharpen, we build together.